In this next lesson, we're going to be looking at absolute value equations and inequalities. But first, we're going to start with a review of what absolute value is. Remember that the definition of absolute value is that it's a measure of distance. How many units away from zero is some value on a number line. Remember that when you measure distance, you always get a non-negative answer. So for example, the absolute value of 7 is 7 because the number 7 is 7 spaces away from 0 on a number line. And the absolute value of negative 7 is also 7 because negative 7 is 7 spaces away from 0 on a number line. Now, the reason we say non-negative instead of positive is because there is one special case. For example, if I gave you the absolute value of 0, that's just 0 because 0 is 0 spaces away from 0 on a number line, and 0 is neither positive nor negative. Now, sometimes you can have an absolute value problem and end up with a negative in your answer. Something like this would be where you'd have the absolute value of negative 12, which equals positive 12, but then you have this extra negative sign in front. That's where you could end up with a negative answer because that extra negative is in front of the absolute value bar. Let's look at a few equations here. If we have something like the absolute value of x equals 8, what you're being asked is, what number is 8 spaces away from 0 on the number line? And there's actually two answers, because you could go 8 spaces to the right, and you'd end up at x equals 8, or you could go 8 spaces to the left, and you'd end up at x equals negative 8. So there's two solutions, and you need to have both of them to have a complete and correct solution. Now let's say I gave you the absolute value of x equals 0. Then I'm asking what number or numbers are 0 spaces away from 0 on the number line. In this case, there's only one answer. 0 is 0 spaces away from 0 on the number line. If I gave you something like the absolute value of x equals negative 10, that's asking what number is negative 10 spaces away from 0 on a number line. And remember that distance is never negative, so there's actually no solution to this question.